Kahit ilang ulit mong kainin, ganun pa rin ang lasa, hindi nakakasawa. Kaya nga tinatawag nila akong Pinindang Queen.
'Pag hindi ka pa ba nakakain, kakain ka ng sapal, mawawala daw yung hapdi ng tiyan mo. Kasi wala nang iba dito na gumagawa ng sapal, ako lang kasi.
In Antique, you cook with what the land gives you and you learn how to make it last. The climate here can be unforgiving: heat, humidity, the unpredictability of rain, and the dry season. These aren't just weather patterns, they're forces that have shaped how people eat and how they think about food. Waste was never really an option that most families could afford, so they developed techniques: fermenting what might spoil, drying what couldn't be eaten in time, and converting surplus into something that would hold. What began as practical necessity produced over generations a distinct food culture that lives until today. Here, preservation isn't just a step in the recipe, but sometimes it's the whole process itself. Sapal is one of the clearest examples. Sapal is a traditional fermented rice snack made from old rice mixed with spices and fermented for several days until it develops its distinctive sour flavor. In Antique, Nanay Jennifer is one of only 2 people we know of who still make sapal today. The process is long and tedious, requiring days of careful fermentation and preparation. Some locals even consider sapal one of the cleanest foods in the country because every step, from grinding the rice to wrapping it in leaves, has to be done with precision and care. Just like with anything that requires fermentation, hygiene is the utmost priority.
Sa mga lula pa namin ang kinukuha dati. Yung lula namin, gumagawa ng sapal, tapos inano ng nanay namin, ginaya. Yan rin yung anak buhay niya para makapag-aral kami noon. Noong nag-aaral pa ako, nagtutulong ako sa kanya, nagbabalot ng sapal. Parang magaan sa akin na gawin. Kaya yun, minana ko rin nga sa nanay ko na gawin yung ganyan.
Making sapal begins with tapay, a fermented starter made from ground laon or aged rice that's been stored for some time and mixed with spices that give the dish its distinct flavor.
Yan, anuhin mo ng luya, tsaka paminta, katumbal. Yan ang paggawa ng ng tapay. Ibabad sa tupperware na may halong bigas. Yung lumang bigas, tapos pag nababad na yan ng 3 oras, dudurugin na yung yung bigas. Kuhanin mo yung binagbabad na na tubig. Tapos salin mo doon sa lusong. Tapos pag masalin mo doon sa lusong yun, dudurugin mo na yung bigas hanggang sa magbino rin na. Gawin mo na naman na parang bola-bola. Ayun, pag magawa mo na yung parang bola-bola, yun ilalagay na namin sa kararaw na may uhot. Ganyan lang paggawa ng tapay.
Once the tapay is ready, the process of making sapal can begin. For the wrapping, Nanay Jennifer harvests her own palos leaves, which grow just beside her home in the mountains of Antique. The leaves do more than just hold the mixture together, they also influence the aroma and the flavor of sapal, giving the snack a subtle scent unique to the leaf and the environment itself. Then, freshly cooked rice is prepared and left to cool before the fermented starter is crushed and mixed into the rice along with sugar. The mixture is then divided into small portions, wrapped carefully in the talus leaves, and left to ferment for several days.
Sapal kasi is a fermented rice. It's a result because of lack of refrigeration. But sapal kasi is an acquired taste.
Yung matanda, yun ginagawa nilang ulam sa kanin kasi maasim siya na matamis. Tapos minimerienda rin nila tuwing hapon o kaya umaga. Pag hindi ka pa ba nakakain, kakain ka ng sapal, mawawala daw yung hapdi ng tiyan mo. Yung sapal, hindi rin yan napapanis. Kahit isang buwan lang, okay pa rin yan kainin. Kung maganda yung paggawa ng sapal, nagtutubig lang yan siya na magtutubig. Pero pwede pa rin kainin.
Today, very few people continue to make sapal. The process is tedious, and fewer households have the time or knowledge to keep this tradition going. With each generation that stops making it, a small part of Antique's culinary tradition is at risk of being lost.
Ngayon nga pag wala ako, iwan kung mayroon pang gagawa ng ganyan. Kasi wala nang iba dito na gumagawa ng sapal, ako lang kasi. Mahirap din kasing gawin.
And some ingredients are disappearing, indigenous. It's very hard to find them. They are not readily available. And they are seasonal. And so that's one of the challenges. The heritage dishes are very important. Yun ang nagbibigay ng identity sa province. Tulad ng tagline ng Antique, where the mountains meet the sea.
The same principle runs through the story of dried freshwater fish. In Antique's inland waters, small fish like humoy-humoy are available in abundance, but only seasonally and only for so long. Fishing in Antique is rarely done alone. To catch humoy-humoy, fishermen work in small groups of 6 to 8. They head out in narrow boats, some with motors, others moved by paddles and the steady rhythm of their hands against the water. Once they reach the right spot, nets are carefully laid across the surface. Then comes the waiting as they watch for schools of fish carried along by the currents. Once the fish are within reach, the fishermen begin to go back to the surface. When they reach the shore, they pull the nets back in, working together to haul the catch towards shore.
Sa research namin in the past 14 years, what is unique to Antique talaga, number one, of course, is yung pinindang. Pinindang kasi is a dried small anchovies. They produce it in Kulasi, Tibyao, and Lawaan. So ang traditional talaga ng paggawa ng pinindang from the sea, inilalagay nila, dinadry nila sa may parasol leaves. Pero ngayon, mostly kino-commercialize na. They do not use parasol leaves anymore. They do not add salt anymore. So yun ang kagandahan sa pinindang. Healthy siya as compared sa other dried fishes because wala nang addition of salt.
Pagdating ng isda, kailangan maraming tao. Kaya kailangan bayanihan talaga ang ano.
Before fridges, when a catch came in larger than a family could consume, the decision was immediate. Act now or lose everything. Nanay Jingjing's family cleans the fish, lays them out by hand, and puts them out to dry under open sun and wind. This is how Pinindang is made. What started as a household solution, a way to keep food from going to waste, gradually became something more. With time, patience, and consistency, it became a craft, and eventually something with a longer shelf life and a wider reach, and finally, the economic backbone of an entire family.
Mula talaga nang pinanganak ako, taga rito talaga ako. Nalakihan ko talaga yung ano ng isda. Gawa ng yung tatay ko. Meron kaming ano, kung tinatawag dito sa amin bitana, yung pukot. Kaya minsan, pag may huli, yun, minsan naibenta din. Kasi minsan may natira, kaya naisip namin ginawang pinindang. Kahit ilang ulit mong kainin, ganun pa rin ang lasa, hindi nakakasawa. Nitry ko lang po na ano, gawin na ganyan ang ano, paggawa. Tapos, nitry ko na ibenta sa ano, na-click din siya. Kasi gawa ng maraming ding mga bakasyonista ba, yung display nila. Kaya yung mga nagbibenta doon, tuloy-tuloy na bumibili na. Nagagalak akong nabigyan ako ng Excellence Award sa MSME, Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise. Kaya nga tinatawag nila akong Pinindang Queen. Hindi lang masabi ng magulang ko na proud siya. Siyempre proud ako dahil nakilala nila na dito bibili.
Ang focus talaga ng mga young people of Antique, they want to go out of the country, they want to go abroad. Kasi parang very few lang kasi ang opportunities sa Antique, especially even finding work. Wala namang industry dito. When it comes to promoting heritage dishes, they're not really interested. But you have to expose them. You have to involve them.
That's the origin of most of these traditions, not culinary ambition, but a practical response to real problems and real constraints. What keeps them alive today is a different kind of work. These foods don't survive because they've been documented or formally preserved. They survive because someone keeps making them, because a grandmother passed that method to a daughter who carried it forward because neighbors watched, learned, tasted, and remembered. What started as survival food has now become heirloom recipe. The knowledge exists in practice, in repetition, and in the decision to keep making it. And as long as people make that choice, these traditions hold. But once they stop, so does that food culture.